Hey guys, Josh here from Sportitude Running, and today's a very exciting shoe review. We're going to be talking about one of the most reliable shoes that's been on the market for the last couple of years. And we're talking about none other than the Brooks Ghost. And in my hand, I hold the 14th edition of this shoe. So Brooks rarely change much with this shoe, and we've seen that over the last 3 to 4 years. However, with the 14, there's been a couple little tweaks which we'll get into today's review and talk about the changes which Brooks have made from the 13 to this shoe here being the 14. So like all my shoe reviews in the past, what we'll be doing is we'll be talking about the outsole, discuss the midsole, talk about the upper, how I found this shoe to perform, and also talk to you about the foot type that could be considering the Brooks Ghost 14. So without further ado, let's get stuck in. Hey guys, let's talk about the foot type first before we dive into the engineering componentry of the Brooks Ghost 14. So in my hand, I hold a static position here of what we classify as a high arch or a mildly supinated foot type. So for this runner, when they land, be it under the heel or on the midfoot, as they come through their transition and get ready to toe off, majority of the pressure will be towards the central part of the foot or a little bit towards or biased towards that lateral component. So they're leaving the ground on that sort of third, fourth metatarsal at the front through here. And as you can see, they'll generally be speaking, we'll talk about a little bit of space between the arch and the ground as well. However, being a stable neutral shoe, and especially with the Ghost 14, they've made it a little bit more supportive. And again, we'll tuck into that specifics in 2 ticks. But I hold a foot type, which is essentially how my foot sits as well. So flatter in the arch. However, this runner can either be relatively neutral, so when they transition through the central part of their gait cycle, pressure still through the central part of their navicular as they transition through to toe off. However, if this person has a tendency to mildly overpronate, doesn't get along with support systems, you can roll out the Brooks Ghost 14, but you obviously want to be fitted just to make sure you do qualify for that type of shoe. Okay guys, this is the fun part. Let's dive into the tech specs of the Ghost 14. So I will firstly talk about the outsole. So when we look underneath the shoe itself through here and here, now I've got the Ghost 13 in my right hand, the 14 in my left. You can see nothing's really changed with regards to the fact they've still gone with that full length outsole. So there's no truss-stick system that sits in between the heel and the forefoot, and they've done this now for the best part of 5 to 6 years. And with the rubber componentry underneath the foot, they've just placed that harder wearing rubber at the back of the heel through here. So this has been a great shoe for that heel striker that comes down on that entry point underneath the heel first. Provides plenty of cushioning, and the rubber has been strategically placed at the back there to make sure that that DNA loft cushioning system is not going to be impacted by the first point of contact with the ground. Now as you come through to the midfoot, the other mild change is you can see that they've just made this little piece through here a little bit more prominent. So what I'm talking about there is through that arch region of the outsole in comparison to the 13 through here, there's a little slit through the 13s, and on the 14s it's a slight covering a little bit more area underneath the arch. Then as you come through to the forefoot as well, the second flex screw from the toe is encapsulated underneath the toe box in comparison to the 13, which is horizontal flex screws across the forefoot. So we've got 1, 2, 3, and underneath the Ghost 14 we have 2.5. So that second flex screw is just encapsulated. Now the main reason Brooks have done that is purely and simply how you have changed the engineering of the midsole. Okay guys, let's talk about the midsole of the Ghost 14. Now first things first, I want to talk about how they're going to use DNA loft in this shoe. So the shoe itself has full-length DNA loft cushioning system, and it is the same density on the lateral side as it is the medial side. Now, no surprises there, that is how a neutral shoe is put together. However, with the Ghost 13, Brooks used the DNA loft cushioning system along the lateral side of the shoe itself. So there was a marginal change between the medial density of foam and the lateral DNA loft density. So Brooks used that engineering philosophy in the 13 to provide a little bit of extra cushioning for that mild supinator, which was a success. A great feedback with this shoe, it worked quite well. But Brooks, with the 14, have decided to run with the same density on the lateral side as well as the medial side, as I just touched on. So therefore, it's going to be a softer shoe underneath the foot for the vast majority of runners. Hence why they have just changed the outsole configuration, providing a little bit more rigidity through that forefoot underneath the first metatarsal. So having those flex grooves just encapsulated, so 2.5 flex grooves in comparison to 3, as we touched on a minute ago. And while we're talking all things midsole, nothing has changed with the stack height. You've got 24 mil stack in the heel and 12 mil stack in the forefoot for a variance of 12 millimeters. So it has been a pretty generous stack height over the last few years. And, you know, some could argue that while brands are starting to drop to that 10 to 8 and some are even going lower than that, most mileage shoes will sit anywhere between an 8 mil to a 12 mil heel to toe offset. And Brooks have had such a good run with this shoe, they're not going to go back to the drawing board and change that anytime soon. So you still got your 12 mil offset, which is great. Okay guys, let's talk about the upper of the Brooks Ghost 14. Now before I start talking about the technical aspects of this shoe, let's just call out the widths because it's my favorite feature of this shoe. Brooks they back their engineering. They love making it accessible to as many neutral runners out there. So what we have with the men's first is you have a B width on offer, which is a narrow width. Fantastic. Standard D, 2E and 4E. So there's 4 widths on offer in the men's, which is awesome. In the ladies, we have 3 widths. We have a 2A, which is narrow, a B, which is standard, and then also a D offering as well. So that, for me, gives me a lot of satisfaction because when you're fitting a shoe on the shop floor and you dial into what engineering components of a running shoe will work for someone, having the variety of widths just gives us a lot more confidence to put this on someone's shoe. If we need to go wider, we can. If we need to go narrower, we can do also. So well done to Brooks there. Probably leading the way with regards to width offering in the running shoe market, which is fantastic. Inside this heel collar, we have an internal heel counter system, a plastic system that supports the heel perfectly. It's nice and structured, deep enough as well, so you can throw an orthotic into this shoe, depending on the heel height, of course, but we have had great success fitting Ghosts over the last few years with orthotics, and nothing will change with the 14. Now, inside the heel collar, again, I have said this in Brooks reviews gone by, doesn't matter if I'm talking about the Adrenaline, the Glycerin, or the Ghost, or any other Brooks shoe, they just know how to make heel collars, and nothing has changed with the 14. It's got the perfect amount of foam insert around the inside of that heel and Achilles insertion, and also from the memory foam perspective, it does hold its shape from that first kilometre right through to the last. It's a really good construction, great fit, very, very comfortable. And as you're coming through to the arch region of this shoe, nothing really has changed with regards to the depth on offer. It has the same fit and feel from the 13 to the 14, and that goes with the forefoot as well. They haven't changed the structure of the forefoot to say that it's going to be deeper, wider, or narrower. If you have been a specific width in the 13, you will be the same width in the 14, which is fantastic. Continuity is a big thing with performance running shoes, so well done to Brooks there. The only thing I will say with regards to the mesh itself, it's marginally lighter and it does breathe a little bit better. Now, with that being said, the 13 wasn't a poor performer in that space by any stretch of the imagination. It's just the 14 has got a couple little improvements. So better ventilation, which is an absolute win from my end. Okay, another minor change that we do need to call out to you at home is the lace has changed. Now, in the Ghost 14, you're going to see more of a flat lace design. In regards to the Ghosts gone by, they use more of an oval concept. Now that has been, in my opinion, one of the best laces that Brooks have ever executed. And also in comparison to other brands, they just get it right. The feedback for Brooks laces has been overwhelmingly positive. Now it's only a small thing, but it can make such a difference with regards to your lockdown, your fit, your comfort, and overall satisfaction with the running shoe. Now, in saying this, it's not that bad. They have just used the flat lace. It's going to cover a little bit more area when you get the tension right. So it should, in theory, give you a better lockdown. And one thing we do need to call out is the Ghost itself has got the same tongue structure as what it had with the 13. So it is stitched down the bottom. It is admittedly a hidden stitch, so you're not going to get any rubbing or irritation. And there's no gusseted system, which is used on the lateral or medial side. So again, that's a bit of a controversial one. A lot of runners out there like to feel like their foot is locked down with some sort of gusseted tongue structure. However, Brooks just in my opinion, with the Ghost especially. They get everything right with regards to the height, the depth, and the width, and the actual materials they use with their upper. So they don't necessarily need to add in that other layer of complexity with that gusseted system. So it's worked for them over the last couple of years, and that's another reason why they didn't change with the Ghost 14. Okay, guys, let's wrap up the Ghost 14. There's one word that I like to use when describing the Ghost, and it is honest. And that is exactly what you want out of a good mileage running shoe. It's nice and cushioned underneath the foot. It's light enough so you can take it for some shorter, quicker runs if you would like, or do a progressive run in it. And there's enough response through that forefoot to get a little bit of energy back from the ground as well. The shoe itself has been one that's been super consistent over the last half a decade. And the great thing is Brooks are not really changing too much of the winning formula from year to year, which is fantastic. The Ghost 14 is marginally softer underneath the foot, and that's purely and simply because they're using full-length DNA and the geometry is the same on the lateral as it is the medial side. But to counteract that softness, they have provided a little bit more support with how they've strategically placed the outsole underneath the foot itself. Comes in widths, can take orthotics quite well, and it is and will be one of our better sellers yet again. So there you have it, guys. That is my take on the Brooks Ghost 14. If you've got any questions, if you've got some comments, some queries, some theories on this running shoe or any other running shoes out there, drop it in the comments field below. If you haven't subscribed to your Sportitude channel, please do hit the red button down below. Stay notified, and we'll keep pumping out these shoe reviews for you, the running community out there. And until next time, stay safe, be kind to one another, happy running, and we'll see you out on the road. Take care.